Hey guys, and welcome to the Believing Better series with Kim and Emily. This is day 8, if I'm not mistaken. And Emily is my guest today, and we are going to talk all about how her beliefs changed, therefore her life changed. And it's in the area of relationship and parenting and personal self-image and all of that good stuff. Emily has been through the Integrative Life Coach training with me and the other coaches. And she is a massage therapist, and she brings in the mind-body connection with her work, and also has implemented it in her own life because she has had some chronic issues over time that we have worked through, and a lot of beliefs that have shifted. And I really want to talk about kind of the struggle of that, like being in a world where it wasn't quite accepted as you were changing and shifting, and how you kept playing back and forth. And I think that's really, it's so important for people who are new on the journey and don't know that they're going to experience that. So welcome. Tell us something about yourself or your life that you love.
Hi, thank you for having me. I love my life right now. I was just reflecting on how different I am in the last decade, and my life has just completely changed over. And a lot of it has happened in the last 3 or 4 years. I used to be quite the people pleaser, entertainer, the smart one, the funny one, just like always helping, always giving, always doing, just wearing myself out. And underneath it all was a lot of anxiety and depression. And I just desperately wanted to heal and help people, but I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to be the best, how to be good enough, how to be perfect. Um, I had lots of crazy beliefs about me being too big, not enough, too much. It was just kind of this cluster of, I would say, like the perfect cocktail for adrenal fatigue and back problems and terrible allergies, weight, so many issues with my body. Um, just really ending up hating myself, trying to look like the funny, cute, like happy girl all the time, but coming home to just self-loathing and really just like eating my feelings all the time, eating and drinking, eating and drinking. And so when I came in to your program, I was already making headway and doing my own self-coaching, and had met my husband, boyfriend at the time. And we had done a lot of great work on myself, but joining your program and like really diving in kind of exploded all of my issues. I had like back issue after back issue, and you helped me heal and clean that up. And I haven't had a low back sprain uh, in a year now. And it's nuts how you look back and you just see a completely different person. And now I have a beautiful life with my husband and my little baby boy. He is 17 months old now. And yeah, I love it.
Let's talk about, so you made the change, the complete overhaul, reinvented yourself, packing up, moving. Like seriously, everything has changed at this point, right? You used to work full time, and your husband even changed his job. You changed locations from Texas to New York, all of this stuff. I want to talk about when you kind of went, because we do all of this coaching and we learn this new way and we become this new person, but there's this temptation to go back. The brain wants to bring us back into the old stuff. And that happened with you whenever you had Corey. You kind of went back. It was almost like after the training, and you kind of tried to do it on your own again.
Mhm.
And I want to talk about that because I think it's so important that when we start doing this work, we don't realize that the neural pathway is so deep, and we can't even see that it habitually pulls us back down. And that happened to you for a few months. And then do you remember the
Yeah.
shift, going back to that? What do you think what was the catapult that like kind of pulled you back to that? Was it just a few moments of not tending to your own mind, not showing up in the community, not getting coaching? What do you say happened that it was what, about 6 months, 4 to 6 months you got caught in that?
Yeah, and like this is something I just recently realized because the birth of my son was quite, and the whole hospital experience was quite traumatic for me. It was the opposite of what I was planning. I was planning a natural home birth and I had to go in for a C-section. He was put into the NICU. My husband had to go back to work right away. And I had been giving to my community and my friends and family for so long, and I just felt so alone. And I felt like, great, here I am. I'm supposed to be this life coach. I have all these tools, and I'm like crying myself to sleep with my son all alone. And it was, yeah, about 6 months of, I would probably label it postpartum anxiety, depression, if I had to put a label on it. But I was struggling, and I, again, just wanted to put on a brave face. And it was like this new trauma that I didn't reach out for processing. I didn't reach out for help and support. I just thought, well, I'm trained now, so I need to be self sufficient.
Mm.
And I wasn't in a program, I was taking time off just to be a mom, and I hadn't processed it yet. And I was starting to really go backwards, like you said, like overeating again and snapping at my husband and just kind of being an old version that was really painful and uncomfortable. And I realized I couldn't do that anymore. So yeah, it was a painful process. And it was like, I won the lottery. I won the manifesting game, like you called it. Why am I not blissfully happy 24/7? So yeah, it was a painful process to see like, oh, I'm still a human brain. I still need help. I still need a coach. Like I'm not forever healed. Um, your life can go through all these evolutions and changes, and you get to that next level, and then it's that upper limit,
Oh,
and
it's
your brain's like, hold up.
you must have
Remember back then?
forgotten how terrible you are and how bad this is and how depressing
Yeah.
life is, right? It's
You
so
can't
crazy.
possibly be happy because you're kind of crap. Like
Mm.
my brain was telling me all kinds of terrible things. You shouldn't have even had a baby. You shouldn't have even had a husband. Like you should have never done this. It's a huge mistake. Who do you think you are to be successful and happy? Like your friends and family are so, especially this year with 2020, like all the things have happened. My brain has told me to be super guilty about being happy at all, to have any kind of abundance or success in my family. The brain is like, yeah, but everyone is suffering and so should you.
So what do you think your thought was in those few moments? Because you were kind of disconnected for a bit. So what was going on in your head, like your inner thoughts? What was the dialogue that you were telling yourself? You're by yourself, you're with this new baby, you're in this new place, your husband's not there, you're supposed to be part of this community, you're not there, you're not, what do you think was the belief that your brain was telling you?
I was a fraud.
I was afraid. I'm supposed to be a coach. I'm supposed to have it together. I was supposed to have achieved all of this stuff.
Yeah, I thought um I had messed up. Like I thought I had basically lied to everybody and I was pretending, and now I'm like actually responsible for a human being, and here I am, a fraud. Like I don't deserve any of this, and I can't possibly ask for help because then I'll show people that I'm a fraud,
Mhm.
and that would be even worse. And so I was self-soothing a lot. And my my brain was just giving me all kinds of evidence of how I used to be. um Here you go again, Emily. You're going to gain all of this weight. You're never going to lose weight. Now you have the responsibility of a child. You can never do anything you want ever. You don't have time for healing. You don't have time for anything that you want. Like such a victim mentality. Like I
Such a
felt,
sucky place to be, huh?
yeah, I mean, it was like I
So
remember
hard.
having conversations with my aunt, like, no, really, this is hard. And she's like, yeah, it's motherhood. And I'm like, no, 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 it's hard for me. Like,
For
you're not
me.
getting it. This is hard. I was like trying to convince people, like, no, you should come take care of me. This is too hard. How do people do this? Like,
And so what would you say is the difference? So that's where you were, and then you came into Self-Healing Masters. And what would you say is the, like, from one to the other? That what was the change that took place?
I remember you saying something to me, um, because of course you've said this many, many, many times, but it like clicked where you were like, you're blaming the very thing that you prayed for. And I was like, what? Like, it's not the husband and baby that you were so desperate to have and like you prayed for. It's your thoughts. Like, you need to clean that up. And it really hit me like, I am blaming my husband and my son, whom I love more than anything, for my unhappiness.
Hmm.
And it really hit me. And joining it, like, when you were talking about self-healing masters, I was like, I have to join this. And I told my husband, like, i I don't have a tribe of women. We're in a new state. I don't have any friends or family here. I don't have any support. I have to be in this community for my mental health. Otherwise, I won't make it. Like, I'm going down. I need to get back up. And he was like, yes, sign up, go right ahead. Um,
I
and
think
it
it's
was
so,
like,
I'm sorry, go
like
ahead.
I was going to say that first call, like, alone made it worth it for me. So it was that, like, I am going down a spiral I'm familiar with, and I know what's at the bottom. And I was like, I need help, come back up. And so it's like this life raft that I had to kind of hang on to get back up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is what I saw happening is once, these integrative coaches are trained and they have the tool set and they're helping other people, we tend to go right back to the old habit of not helping ourselves. We go right back into that mode of saving the world, saving the husband, saving the kids, saving whoever it is, and we forget about ourselves. And that's really what I was responding to when I opened Self-Healing Masters, was to have that personal space and just come and hang out here. Like, this is just the place we're going to evolve and grow, and every year is going to be a little bit different. And I think it was, you were part of that. Like, I was responding to watching what was happening within my own community when someone was coachless, when someone was like in the position where I have this tool set, I have these trainings, I have all this stuff, but I'm not actively working and I'm not actively investing. And I'm just kind of left to myself again.
Yeah. That's that's one of the hardest things I have realized about myself, is that I'm not that great all alone. Like, I do need community and connection. All humans do. And because I had to be so independent from a very early age, I've I built that shield of like, I can do anything and I don't need anyone else. And San Antonio Emily will come out to play, come at me, bro. Like, I have that defense. And so when anything hard comes up in life, I tend to put that back up where I'm like, I don't need anyone. I got this. And then after a few months of that, I realize it's not really that great to be all alone, taking care of everything by yourself. And it's not that great in a marriage. Like, you need each other. If you've committed to each other, it's okay to ask for help from each other, and it's okay to appreciate each other and love each other. And I was putting that wall up everywhere with my friends and family, with my husband. I was getting really upset with my son, who doesn't know any better. Yeah, so I need community and I need to reach out.
What would you say prevents that from happening? Like, what do you think most people, is it because we go back to trying to do it ourselves or doing it the old way? What do you think stops
Well,
the
over the
vulnerability?
years, I have invested in a lot of programs and a lot of, um, churches. And I've kind of clung on to different leaders and Um, I want someone to save me. Like, okay, you might have the answer. This is great. And all along my life, like that person failed me, that person failed me. They left, they left, they left. So I think at the bottom of it for me is that I always have this little voice that's like, don't invest too much, like not just money, but yourself, because they're probably going to leave you. Like, you can't reach out for Kim for her help because she's probably busy with other people. Like, that was kind of where I was last year. Like, well, I'm not in another coach training. I'm not in another business course. Like, I don't have the right to reach out for help. I don't like, she's busy. So I always imagine other people are either going to leave me high and dry, they will disappoint me. I don't have the right, I'm not paying you, so I don't have the right to ask for help. Like, no one would just help me just to help me.
Now, do you think it was an unworthiness thing or more of
Yeah.
a prideful thing? Like I think it's different for all of us, but
For
it's
me,
kind of
it's
along
worth, like,
not worthy of it.
I'm not worthy.
I'm sinking here and it's my fault because I didn't make the business a go and I didn't have the money and I didn't do the thing and all of that
Yeah.
BS, would you say?
Yeah. And it's like, you asked for this, suck it up. I mean, that's what rings through my head. Anytime something is hard, I go to like, well, like, you literally decided to move to another state. You
You
can't
deserve
complain about
this.
it. Yeah.
Mhm. Now, we both come from, because we met in a community that was very strong in mindsets, and just really harsh and clean cut, kind of like that,
Yeah.
really doing without and white knuckling it. And even the food protocol was even aligned with that, which was
Yeah.
basically ignore the part of yourself that has these wants and needs, completely ignore that, throw away and become this badass. Right. And so what would you say the coaching is like in this community? Whenever you look at like what it's like in other areas, not just one in specifically, but what of counseling, of therapy, of coaching, how is this container different that it has helped you change into the understanding that you have now?
Uh, I feel like in the previous coaching, there was talk about like allowing emotion. And I remember hearing those words and thinking about those words. But you've taught me what truly processing emotion is, and that it's okay to feel it and to not just coach it away. You know, like, what if you just feel shitty right now? It's okay to feel shitty. Um, so whenever we get coaching in the group, you don't come at it like a problem to solve. Like, you help us, you guide us, and you kind of contain our little emotions in your hands. And you're like, it's okay, and it feels safe and comfortable to come there with issues that we have versus like, from the self coaching idea of like, well, if I know the tool, all I have to do is write it down and I can figure it out. This is a problem and I can solve it. And as a like grade A student, that's hard for me because it's like saying, you have the textbook, you should be able to pass the test. And when you're struggling, you need some guidance and some help and support. And that's what I feel like the group really offers is there's no test in the first place. There's no grading, you know, we're just helping each other and getting the actual healing. Like, the processing I've seen happen on these weekly calls is just crazy. It's awesome how I know for me that first call was a blubbering mess. Um, and I got off the call and I wanted to like call Chris right away and be like, oh my God, I just broke this through this major crap and I don't blame you anymore.
You're such a great partner.
He's
I don't know
like,
why I wasn't seeing it.
he's like, yeah, I'm awesome. I don't know why you have a problem.
I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about Emily. We got the hood in common. Okay. So I love like to pick on her because she wants to be all perfect and professional and she wants to say the right thing and she wants to do it right and be the top of the class and all of that stuff when her magic is really in her being herself, which is
Yeah.
witty. I mean, so funny and light and easy. And she's got the best jokes. But it's so hard to bring her on board because you had a belief about this hood Emily, I call it, because
Mhm.
that's what makes you laugh.
Yeah.
And so you hid that part of yourself in order to be someone else because you thought that's what the world wanted to see. What do you think was the
Yeah.
belief behind that? Like, I need to be this way because,
I mean, if you want to take it way back, it really does have to do with being um, part white, part Mexican, growing up in a city that, um, San Antonio, Texas, that is very much Hispanic. And yet, like, my grandmother from Mexico, like, would look down on other Mexicans. And, like, there was like a class system. And so growing up in school, I was like, oh, the white girls are more popular and they were rich. And like all my Mexican friends from my neighborhood, like they had less money. And, it's like I started seeing how other people were treating each other. And I was like, oh, I want to be with the preppy
don't we
girls.
all?
Like I wanted to look preppy and like I had money and, and we didn't. And I wanted to be Martha Stewart and live in the Northeast. And, I wanted to be something I wasn't. Um, and so, yeah, I grew up like I wanted to be the smart girl. I wanted to look clean and professional because that's the opposite of where I came from. Like my house was not clean. It was very cluttered and very dirty. And it's like I wanted to scrub San Antonio and what that meant to me off when I moved to Austin. And I never wanted to look back. And I say this with all the love in my heart from my Mexican family and friends. You know, want to put that out there. It's that idea that I had to be something I wasn't in order to be accepted by groups of people at school and society or whatever. And so it stems from all of that way back then. And it's like I got into the professional world and corporate, software companies, and it was like even more so
Yeah.
where you have to have money and you have to have, status and you have to have titles and cars and, live downtown Austin. I try to fit like my San Antonio self in this like little tiny hole that I didn't fit in. And I made myself even more sick and, bigger. I like gained so much weight from all of that, like feeding that energy. I was not myself at all, like trying to fit into this like white society, I guess you would say.
Yeah. It's this like just separating from yourself, not being able to accept yourself at all. And
Yeah.
then we're constantly feeding ourselves to get inside of our body. We use
Yep.
food, right? And then we have the weight of the body to ground and to feel. And then we have all this potential, this nervousness, right? Hanging out on the outside of our body. And it's all
Yeah.
because we're looking for ourselves. We're trying to connect to ourselves. We're trying to
Yeah.
find that part of Emily, which is who you are. When we were children, we were in our essence. Like it's so crazy. That Emily
Yeah.
that would come out and dance and come out and play and look at me, how pretty, and look at me, right? All of that is who you are.
Yeah.
And when that didn't work, it was like, ditch all of that, throw it in the closet, close the door, and let me try to be someone else because that's not giving me what I need. And
Yeah.
then we take that belief into the workforce. We take it into our own business. We take it into our marriages. It's a big deal. This is a,
Yeah. And, thankfully, so when I moved to Austin, when I was around 19, I found partner dancing and ballroom, West Coast swing. And so it was like, oh my God, I could be myself. And I mean, I took off. I was dancing like 3 to 4 hours a night in classes, parties, workshops. I started competing. I started teaching dance. So for the first part of my 20s, I had some trauma I was still processing, but I mean, I was in my zone with dance. I loved it. It was everything to me. And my dancer boyfriend at the time cheated on me and got another girl pregnant. And I was like, I can't dance ever again. Like I just shut that part of me down because it was too painful. So, from 2014, all the way through now, it's like I would kind of dabble back and forth into the dance world, but like I just never really got back into it. And so I like shut that desire off. I shut the desire off to get married and have children. I shut the desire off to dance. I shut a lot of my desires off and I just funneled it all into corporate software work. I was in HR and I was just like, I'm going to be the best employee. And I just wanted to win awards and like fit in somewhere because I had shut off all of my like expression and creativity and love, really. I didn't want to love anything anymore. It's like I wanted to, but I could not let myself really feel anymore. And I just
Like,
ate and
I
drank.
need it and I can't have it.
Yeah. That was so painful. And so I decided, okay, well, I'll date men, but I'm going to be the cool girl that says, I don't need a relationship. I'll just be a casual dater. And so I dated a guy for like almost a year who was traveling the world, and I traveled and, didn't want a commitment. And then it hit me. I do want a commitment. I do want to be married. I do want to have kids. And like, it just was so painful. I got cheated on again in 2016. And around October 2016, I was so deep in depression that I was contemplating, like, how do I make my death look like an accident? I don't want it to look like a suicide. Like, I was so serious about it. I was like, I can drive off a bridge, can drive into a tree, like, and everyone thought I was happy and joyful because people pleaser Emily. Like, I could not let someone be upset by my emotions. So I was like, I'll just exit. I'm out. It's too hard. It's too much. And I had no way to really process it. I had tried therapy. It's the same. I couldn't handle life anymore. And it was that, like, I was not myself
Right,
anymore.
right.
I was not.
You're already dead.
Yeah.
This is what we do. We're already dead
Yeah.
because we bury her, or we put her in a closet, or tuck her under the bed, or tell her she can never come out again because she's the reason. She's the reason. And so we put that part of ourself away. Guys, we do this in so many areas over the years. And this work is about integrating those aspects of ourself back in,
Mhm. That
instead
was
of
what
throwing.
sold me on your process. That very first time we talked on the phone, you had kind of brought me back to a time when I was a little girl and my dad was making me feel stupid about, coloring or something. And he kind of walked me through this visualization of like holding her hand and showing her just how smart you actually are, and like, look, whatever all that you've done in your life. And it was something that I had never experienced before, that bringing her that piece of Emily that I left behind in
Mhm.
that scenario, that was like the beginning of me trying to prove myself, like, I am smart. Listen, I read and I know things. And like, always trying to prove to people, like, I already know, I know. It came from that, trying to get my dad's attention because he was so brilliant and so smart. And if he didn't think I was smart, then, oh my God, I'm a failure and I'm going to be rejected. So that process of bringing myself back to myself, that integration,
Mhm. Mhm.
was what really sold me on this whole journey.
That it's like the process, the soul retrieval, bringing the fragmented parts of ourself back to where we can like have that feeling, that sensation of wholeness, that I'm home, I'm back home in my own body. We call that embodiment, right? It's
Right.
like bringing the aspects that we were ashamed of, or that weren't good enough, or we were told that too loud, too big, too small, too tall, too whatever.
Hmm.
And our interpretation or our perception, what our brain is like, well, we have to be safe and we have to be wanted and we have to be a part of the tribe. So let's get rid of that. So we never have to think or look at that again. And we try to be who they want us to be. And that separation is what creates the depression.
Yeah.
It's not being who you are or not feeling like you can have what you want. That is
Yeah.
what creates separation and depression.
Yeah. And I just, my whole life, I was just running myself ragged, trying to be everything to everyone. So somebody would want me enough to keep me forever. It was like all along, people were just like, friends or family, pastors, like something would happen and they would leave me and I would be alone again.
Did you think that was going to happen with us too? Because when we first met, I was like, I'm in love with you. We're going to be friends. Like, you remind me of my daughter-in-law. You're so funny. And like, I was legit. And I mean, kept reaching out and we kept talking and we kept building relationship. I'm curious if you were thinking that was going to happen with us also. Because we have a inner joke that Emily's my favorite.
I mean, it's an outer joke and it's not a joke. It's real. Yeah. I think it's always this like sneaky, it'll come out when I'm already feeling down about something. And then I'll interpret something somebody does as, see, they're going to leave you again. See, you're not good enough. If a friend doesn't text me back right away and I'm already feeling down, I'm going to be like, they don't love me. What did I say? What did I do? Was my joke not funny enough? So yeah, of course, there's this, if someone just comes out the gate and is like, oh my God, you're awesome, I love you. I'm like, I don't know if that's, you're trying to be funny or like you really do like me.
This is interesting. So how did you handle that? Or what was your inner dialogue about being part of this community? Because guys, this community, we can love some people now. I mean, we are like, if you come in here, you're going to be like my BFF. We're going to hang out. I'm going to like all your shit. We're going to like, so I'm wondering how that little Emily in the disbelief felt about, oh my God, is this genuine? Is this real? Are they going to go
Yeah.
away? Is it temporary? How was that experience for you?
Well, we already met, a few months into my own kind of self-coaching work in that
Yeah.
program I was in. So I was beginning to kind of crack open and be like, I can receive love.
Mhm.
Maybe. So it was kind of in that in between. But there are definitely times where I would be like, uh-oh, I said something wrong. Like, oh, my joke was too funny. Like, I'm getting too much attention in class again. I'm talking too much. Like, there's always those thoughts.
Mhm.
But because I would started to have that awareness of my thoughts, I would question it and be like, maybe you're just overthinking things.
Mhm.
Maybe she
I have
actually
that
doesn't
too. I
really
can
like
relate to
you.
that. I
Yeah.
can relate to that in my own, in our coaching community, and some of the other coaches can agree with it too, because it's like, especially when I'm learning something new and I'm excited and I'm bringing it out, I'm like, oh Lord, this is when they leave. This is when it's too
Exactly.
much.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can This is
Yep.
when Kim goes overboard. Oh yeah, she always does it.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking
One
about.
too many exclamation points in that text message.
Well,
You're a little too excited.
even with you, when you were like debating about like leaving work and being mom and then doing your coaching business, and you were kind of stuck in your little spinning, and I was like, I mean, I said some things that were a little out there for some people in the community, and you and I had a mutual agreement and had an understanding, but others don't realize that, or maybe I was offensive, but it was like speaking to a part of you, that higher self in you, that was like, yeah, maybe I need to hear this.
Oh
Maybe.
yeah. Okay, so for sure, if I had never like been in coaching world and had this awareness that my thoughts create my feelings, say Chris and I met randomly. I mean, I believe we manifested each other because we were both on this plane of awareness. But if I had been married and had a kid before this, I would have for sure been divorced by now,
Mhm.
because I would quit anything that got too hard, that exposed too much of me. Jobs, friendships I would just let fall away, and family I've just cut off because it was too much and too hard for me. And, I always like to look like I'm, a conqueror and I can persevere, but like I would actually just quit. So I think about that with my marriage now. Like I always say, like I manifested Chris and then Kim keeps me married to Chris because
The bumper pads.
yes. Like and now it's funny because if I snap or like get on to Chris about something, he's like, "Do you need to go talk to Kim?"
That's funny.
Like, shut up.
It's kind of like when they're like, "Are you hormonal? Is it that time in the month?" It's like
Yeah. He's
so
like,
upsetting.
"You're making this mean something." I'm like, "Oh, don't use my coach speak
Oh,
against me."
Keith tells me that. My husband tells me that too. He's like, "Don't you have all this figured out? Like, what? Can't you fix this? What's happening here?"
Yeah. He's like, "You're
Like, we
letting
are
this
still
get to you."
humans.
Yeah. I'm like, "No, I'm right. I'm the boss and I am right."
Uh,
Yeah. So thank God I have these tools because I think about how hard this year has been. I'm in a new marriage. I have a new baby. We moved across the country. Like, who does that during a pandemic? We do, apparently. Um, and yet we're still like really in love with each other. Like, we have fought like crazy. And this summer, we came like toe to toe because I was not taking care of myself, and he has his own thoughts and beliefs too. But I was like, I can do this on myself, and I'm a coach, and I got this. And then I was like crying all the time and yelling, and you know, and yet we got through that because we have that awareness now that's like, whoa, 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 let's take a step back. We can handle this. We can get through it. We don't have to make this mean this is the end of the world. Sometimes things happen and you feel shitty feelings, and it's okay.
mhm.
And it doesn't mean that you're supposed to get divorced. Whenever we have a big fight or something, Chris is like, well, this obviously means we're meant to be together. Like, instead of just saying, oh my gosh, we're opposite in this way, or we're not seeing eye to eye, we can now be like, oh, this is where we sharpen each other.
Mhm. Well,
Oh, we're teaching each other something right now.
and both of you committed to doing this work, I think is what's so
Yeah.
beautiful. When you can bring this into your relationship and not use it against each other, but use it for each other, and in upbringing a new generation to
Yeah.
be more vulnerable, more relatable. That's
Mhm.
the beauty is, accepting each other as we are. But I know for in my experience, and especially in training so many of y'all in coaching, and I realize you do have the tools, and then watching how you get to this position where it's like, well, I'm the coach, I have it all together, so I don't ever need coaching again. And you guys start swimming away. It's like, hold on. And I feel like I was responding to that because it was happening so much. And I
Yeah.
knew how much y'all had to offer and how much you wanted that. And I kept seeing the same thing. And you were one of the ones I reached out to. And I was like, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. What's your thought about it? And you were like, I'm in, done.
Yeah.
I'm signing it first. Like, I'm ready. And it was because I saw this where we become the professional and then we think we can take care of it ourselves. We go right into throwing it out everywhere else and not putting it here. And self-healing masters is really, don't be bringing your business mess. Bring your mess,
Right.
your personal mess. And we're all entrepreneurs. We're all a mess. we're all helping people.
Yeah.
That's what's beautiful. There's no judgment about it. You're supposed to have it all together. You're actually not supposed to have it all together. This is the place where you keep it together for
Yes.
yourself. And I think that, I guess I would want to talk about that for a second is like, because you've been in both containers. And what would you say is the difference? Because there's quite a bit of difference between the integrative
Yeah.
coach training and self-healing masters.
Well, the coach training, like I'm not sure if you're doing it the same way, but there's that first couple months of just personal work, like one-on-one healing. And then it's like, okay, let's get to business. These are the tools. These are how you use them. Practice coaching. And it's like really intense, you know, correcting us like, whoa, 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 hold on,
Kind of
and
hardcore. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and I love that too. Being the student that I am, I'm like, oh, okay, teach me. But entrepreneurs are people too, and we have family and friends, and we have baggage and marriages and children, and you can't just put on your entrepreneur hat 24/7 and be like, I got this. You come home to your kids and they're acting a fool and you don't want to spank them and you're like, oh, I'm going to pull my hair out. And like, you're trying not to yell at your husband, entrepreneur or not, like you still need help with your thoughts and feelings about the world. You still need help. I think
Mhm.
every single person needs a coach, just like everyone with teeth needs a dentist to get in there and clean in the back where you can't see
In the
it.
brain.
Yeah, like we need some brain scrubbing too.
Mhm.
So yeah, when you were like, I'm doing self-healing masters, I was like, yes, I need some brain scrubbing.
Yeah, because you were one that I saw that when you kind of like you, what happened is you came out and you weren't ready to do the coaching yet. You weren't ready to create the business, to create the money, to get all of that stuff rolling. And so there was this like little lap right in between. But I love that that happened because I think what we created is so effective for so many other people, not even those who came through this training or not, but just entrepreneurs in general, healing focused entrepreneurs in
Yeah.
general, who get caught in the cycle of healing other people or helping other people heal and forgetting about their own. Because even though we have all of this other stuff cleaned up, there's new stuff always happening.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. Like we were talking about, I'm a trained massage therapist. I went through school in 2011 and I learned about the mind body connection, trauma coming out of you because you were touched in that same place from
Right.
20 years ago. I learned about that. And yet I went and tried to be a massage therapist entrepreneur and, got burnt out real fast. And I was like, oh, I cannot do that for the rest of my life. And if I had somewhere like Self Healing Masters to really work on my brain and how to take care of myself, I might be still doing massage today,
Mhm.
And I'm so thankful for that time of my life because I think it was part of that foundation to get me here. But now that I see how all the pieces are working together and how entrepreneurs are just humans too, we need that help. It's a beautiful place to be in. I think anyone who is trying to make a business on their own to help people, it's like these two things that come together, they like fight each other if you don't do it
Integrate.
from this place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Christy and I talked about this yesterday. We were talking about massage therapists and, just the whole industry and the business and the entrepreneur, I mean, the massage therapists themselves, the personal part of it. And it is such a big deal. And if more massage therapists knew about this work before going in, they wouldn't burn out. They wouldn't even be at risk of trying to fix and people please and all of that stuff because they would have the mind body tools to help their client even off of the table. And so I guess we'll just kind of end with that is what do you think that would look different in the massage therapy world if people knew about this work before and how that would affect the world in general, the
Oh my
clients
gosh.
as well?
I blew out my wrist in internship because I was trying to fit in too many clients to like people please, in one day. So, yeah, if I had known about this, if I like want to go back to my massage school and be like, you guys, there's a whole other level to this. Like y'all don't even talk about. Like you could be in teaching and enriching this system so much more with these tools. I think about it all the time. I love that school. It is the best in Texas. It's top of the line massage training. But yeah, if you have these tools on top of it, even if you're not trying to be an entrepreneur, if you just want to work at Massage Envy or something like that, you're going to burn out if you don't take care of yourself, mind and body. So yeah, I wish everyone in this type of industry would know about you
But know
and
about this
your
work. Yeah,
tools. Yeah.
so good. Thank you for coming. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to share? Emily helps. She's a life coach. She's an integrative life coach, and she helps, we say women, moms who, how do we say that? They want to get their shit together. Like they have a
Yeah.
partner, they have children, they have themselves to deal with, and just want somebody to hear, to sound off with, to hold space for them and help them move to the next level or push the bar a little bit in their own life.
Yeah, it's cliche, but I really want to help people go from just surviving to thriving because that's kind of where I've taken myself from this super scarcity, barely paying my bills, barely hanging on to life by a thread to coming to this place where I've created this life that it's totally unrecognizable. And for anyone, especially women who have this kind of trauma experience too, it is the best thing that you could do for yourself. And that's who I want to help, people like me, to really just get your shit together.
I love the part about the thriving to surviving, because that was me too. Always contemplating how I was going to get out of this life without people knowing that I took my own life. I can so relate to what you were saying,
Yeah.
and it was really the separation from myself. And I think that's such an important role to play for women who have lost themselves in their marriage as being a mother. And we know that the work that we want to do for generations to come begins in the high chair, begins before the high chair. It begins with the woman. It
Yeah.
really does. It begins with us, because even like through the the whole process, like what we know now about the cellular stuff, the structure and our state of mind and how that is passed through utero. There's so much for the woman to know, to
Yes.
experience this empowerment ahead of time.
Yes. I would love to help mom or women who are thinking about becoming a mom or new moms, because it's like, if we could get in early, it would save you so much trouble and help you raise the children you want to raise, to be themselves and not lose yourself along the way.
Yeah, because there is something about having children that knock you to your knees. I mean, they are a great catalyst for growth.
Yes, I am so thankful and for so many reasons for my son, but he is the best teacher I have,
Right
especially in
there with your
patience.
husband.
Yes, they're tied. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, guys. We're going to hang out here a second if you have any questions for Emily, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And I just want to say I appreciate your time. I
Thank
appreciate you
you.
sharing your story with others. And I thank you for the work that you're doing with women, with mothers, with partners.
Thank you.